Meditation. We all need it. There we go. Hey! Yo, guys.
Where's Hugh?
Hey, what's up?
Get my damn ring light.
Wait, that's
Thank
not
you
right.
so
Hold
much,
this way.
guys. Yo, y'all are some loyal as.
Michelle, just make sure this is recorded at the end.
Oh, yeah. What was the app that we use?
Recording?
I don't know. I'm over apps right now.
We'll figure it out. But yeah, there's an app that it'll eventually go on you. So let me put on my glass. Get out. And now you're like loading. Are you loading, Hugh?
Oh, here we go.
Someone wanted to
Oh, here we go.
sabotage this meeting.
Yeah.
I'm back. I'm all good.
Anyway. Hi, everyone. So this morning on our YouTube Live, we were just having a little bit of technical difficulties. And
Audio difficulties.
all the technical difficulties happened today. But
Yeah.
we are here. Oh, let me get back on. We are here, and we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this Instagram Live, and it's gonna be really good. Huh? Yes, you're hilarious. And it's gonna be really good. And what we'll do is we'll download it, and we will upload it on YouTube. I believe that's what we did with one of our very first episodes. So no worries there.
Yeah. And yes, Paul, Hugh promised, that no promises, but I'll talk to Hugh for you and see if we can get that night all in place. All right. No promises though, you're gonna have to wait till the end to find out if we're gonna actually have one.
Oh my Lord. All right, let's see. Hi everyone. Welcome. Thank you for staying up with us here. Oh God. I'm trying to accept Hugh and it's not working.
If it's not the audio, it's something with the app. It's crazy.
Let's see. I don't know why I'm accepting him. That's weird. Let's see.
Yo,
Oh,
what's
there.
up?
Hi Hugh.
There we go.
Come back.
What's up?
Oh my
What's going
goodness.
on?
How are you?
Awesome. Finally, I can talk to you guys like normal. That's great.
Yes,
That
that's
was
wonderful.
stressful technical moments.
Yes, it was very stressful. It's very stressful.
Yeah. Well, first, I just want to thank everyone that literally, on YouTube giving us feedback. We really appreciate it. We're in the process of growing and figuring all this shit out. Thank you so much for handling that. We promise to get better at it and figure this out. But let's start.
The qualification for the night
Nah, yeah.
is at least one guest. You have to send this link to at least one person from your follower list to
I
qualify
feel like
for
those
this
old MLM terms have been so far in my life. It's so funny to see those terms again. Night owls and
Night owl.
qualifiers and functions and
title.
mentor. Oh my gosh. That word brings back trauma now. Mentor.
I know. Definitely. Well, let's jump right to it. For those of you guys who don't know us, hi. My name is Michelle. This is AcadM.E. We are the founders of AuthentiK LLC. We have multiple branches. The one that we are talking about today is through our AuthentiK TV branch, which we started about a month or two ago, where anyone that has left pretty much any MLM business, we invite them and we create the space for them to share as to why they left, what are some red flags that they noticed as to why they decided to leave. Some of the people that have been on our show have been people that were in for a year, 2 years. And then tonight we're super excited because for those of you guys that don't know, Hugh was actually at a really high level. I'm going to let him talk about all the amazing things that he did in the business. And he also has a podcast where he shared his story. Many of you guys have listened to that podcast. And if you haven't, head on over to his page so you can listen to it. Today's going to be, we're going to go from a different angle today where he was going to share his story. And it's going to be amazing. So come on in, guys. Grab some tea. Grab some snacks. And
Popcorns, ice cream, whatever you like.
And let's get to it. So I'm going to have Akambi go ahead and introduce Hugh. I feel like it's appropriate because obviously Hugh was actually one of Akambi's mentors in the MLM business that he was sharing about. And I'm excited to kind of get this party started and get this conversation started. So Akambi, take it away.
All right, guys. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Akambi, famous Amos, and I was a part of Hugh's business team actually. And I want to introduce Hugh how I would introduce him as if we were still in the business.
Oh man.
So tonight I have the pleasure of introducing someone very special, big time mentor in my life, someone who I've seen, grow multiple businesses in multiple countries. He has a huge business team in China, a huge business team. He came here not knowing anyone, developed a massive, huge business team in the States. And, from a very young age, he had one of the youngest ever platinums in his business team. Oh man. So all fun and jokes aside, guys, because I'm triggering a lot of people right now on this.
You're triggering me too. You're triggering me too, Akambi.
So for those of you who don't know, Hugh was one of the original persons who left the business sometime, I think early last year. And when he left the business, not only did he leave the business, he also went on a mission to make aware a lot of the things that were happening in the business that were just not right, that were just not necessarily at the best interest of others as they would proclaim they're doing. And it really opened up a lot of people's eyes because Hugh was a very big deal in the business. He was one of the leaders that represented the young upcoming crowd in the business at that time. And he had achieved a very high level in the business and was able to maintain that for a while. So when Hugh left, it was just like, ooh, and then he dropped the podcast. It was just like double ooh, it's just like, ooh, ah, so that inspired so many people to just take a second look. I can tell you from my personal perspective, it inspired me. Actually went out and talked to Hugh. Like I flew to California. We had a whole day of just hanging out and just talking about stuff.
Yeah.
And there was just a ripple effect all because of Hugh. So basically right now, Hugh, we just want to know what's life been since the podcast for you? What have you been doing? What developments have occurred because of that podcast? Just give us an update, man, before we really get into anything.
Yeah, for sure. So what's up, y'all? I'm Hugh, if we haven't met before. And I had been in network marketing for 12 years and left, I think, towards the summer 2018. After 12 years being in network marketing. And if you haven't heard my first podcast yet, I dropped a podcast. I think it was last year, April or May, with one of my good friend, Paul Nelson. We both sat in the desert and decided to record a podcast to share our story, how we left network marketing, our experience, and why we decided to just really get out of that place. And it was one of those things you just really, you cure yourself to just, share and talking about it and be as raw as you can. I think me and Paul can probably both speak to it. And our life had just completely did a 180 turnaround since then. Probably Paul has been more than me because I left a year before I even put out the podcast. But for Paul, it was he dropped the podcast and people started realizing, oh man, he actually left. So he's it definitely did a 180 turn. And I have been just doing a lot of things. I've been doing a lot of things I have always dreamed about doing. You know, traveling, spend time with family, just like the stuff that we used to feel really guilty about doing back in the network marketing organizations. Like if you're not familiar, like you probably don't relate to this, but if you listen to this, you've been around network marketing, I'm assuming you are. It's like this is stuff that we feel guilty about. I used to feel so guilty about like even making a trip to see the family because that's taken away from the business for like a couple of days for or like a week or like a month. And there'll be quote unquote mentors. Calling them mentors like is completely ironic because they're not mentoring you. Everything they do is for their own benefits. And the mentors will be literally go on stage and talk about how taking a break is like hurting your business, hurting your future. So therefore, we're making us, a lot of us, just like feel guilty about doing the things that we love and doing the things that actually like make us feel complete and be mentally healthy, spiritually healthy, right? So I just started doing all of that, the things that I missed, like going to see a family that's living in Europe, like visiting my cousins that I haven't seen them for years, like literally years, and just going on traveling, exploring spiritual routes, like no guilt, just actually living, not living this like you know illusion of the future that I'm gonna have one day, or this like guilt of not doing stuff. So that's like really what my life was pretty much for the last like almost going on almost like 18 months now since the first podcast dropped. And then me and Paul started traveling for a little bit. And then I met this guy, Bavia, also came in from Canada. It was funny because me and Bavia have met because of the first podcast. He was like, oh my God, like we need to talk because he went through a lot of similar things and losing a crap ton of money that I don't think any one of us here has lost that much money, but their family lost like six figures. You know, trying to buy things, buy products, qualify for this level called Q12. So he flew down and we stayed in this barn that turned into a house in the middle of Montana somewhere. There's one hiking every week. And then after that was some more travels in the West Coast, you know, Paul, and then met up Paul a few times, and then Paul found his love right here, Michelle. It's like good things happen when you left the cult, I guess, you know. You left the influence. When you leave the influence of a cult, you feel more human, like exactly like the comments said, you feel more human. And you find things that you love to do, and you find spiritual fulfillment, you know, whether it's traveling and doing whatever things that you like. So yeah, that was like pretty much the life after that. And to actually live in the present, I think one of the biggest things that I think all of us here can speak to is picking up meditation. And that for anything, that's really the lifesaver for me was that's like really what got me through the tough time when I first left. Because if you're leaving a network marketing organization, leaving an MLM, you feel like you, even though you know it's like the right thing to do, but initially you felt like you're losing a part of you, a part of your identity, a part of you that's like, you know, the dream, quote unquote, right? I just saw the comment Paul posted, collaterals. Yeah, he's making a reference to a different cult. They asked you to put collaterals.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we feel like we're losing part of ourselves, our dreams. Like it almost feels like giving up in a way, right? And for all of us who are like overachievers here, we don't like the feeling of giving up because we don't, right? Or like we haven't really given anything in the previous pursuits we have. So it does feel like we're losing part of ourselves. We're losing a community that at least it felt like they care at that point. When you first leave, like there's a sense like, oh my God, like I'm losing this community of people that care about me, you know, quote unquote care. But it's not really care. It's just more like, you know, they want you to feel that way. It's not real. Because as soon as you pull away, you quickly see what happens is that you are basically shut out, right? You're no longer welcome to contact any of the people. And their priorities make sure that you don't actually influence the rest of the organization, right? So it was tough when you first peeled away. And I picked up meditation in Europe. I was traveling, and one of my friends said, hey, you should really do some meditation. And that really saved me to overcome this process and come back and just meditate all the time and be very clear that that's not how life should be like. You know,
Right.
life is not just about, you know, in pursuit of money at any cost. It's about feeling good about every single day that we live, right? Because none of us know when's our last day. So we should be really
Right.
feel good about every single day we live.
Right.
So
Right.
that's really how it should be, not living for the future, for the past, or this like fake, you know, destination that will arrive someday, right? And I just saw the
Mm-hmm.
comment. Anthony just said, felt like a traitor. Exactly, it's what it is. It's very tribal, right? And they say tribal like it's like a compliment, like it's a good thing that we're very tribal. I remember like this speaker on the stage talk about like, you know, it's like it's their tribe, like they found their tribe, like this is their people. Like I get what
Mm-hmm.
he's trying to say, but being tribal in the modern world, it may not be a good thing. It's more like a neutral world, right? We are in a
Mm-hmm.
modern society now. We're not in the tribe anymore. We should be able to connect with all the humans, not just
Right.
people in our tribe. And we
Right.
shouldn't be
Right.
feel good about attacking another tribe. Is not a prideful thing to do or to say or to be promoting, right?
Right.
But for them, there's like an air in the environment where like if you're not part of this network marketing tribe, you're not like this, you know, go-getter, quote unquote, entrepreneurs, and you are just, you know, a bunch of people that don't matter. That's like, you know, doesn't deserve to be around us, this tribe of winners, right? So it's good to peel away from all of that to understand like what really matters and doing those things that matters to me. And that's really what my life was. Up until
Mm.
this point was all the things I do, I chose to do them because they matter to me. Whether it is
Mm-hmm.
doing well for my job that pays me to pay for the bills, I don't feel guilty about having a job anymore. I used to even feel guilty about having a job. How crazy is that, right? Because they put
Mm.
down jobs so much, like, oh, having a job is like, you know, you're not like winning in life. You're not like, yeah, maybe like not work forever for somebody else, but presently having a job is not a bad thing. And nobody should be
Right.
feeling bad about when they need a paycheck to pay for the bills, right?
Right.
So all the things that like, you know, that I do now that I think is meaningful, or taking 3 months to go see the family, which I was kind of lucky to have the job to allow me to work remotely and be able to go back for like 3 months, just visit family. Went to Tibet before I came back to the States. That was definitely one of the things that's been on my list for a long time, to go
Mm.
see the highest peak in this planet, and
Wow.
just look at that peak, like, yeah, that's like the highest peak, and you're like literally standing 16,000 feet above ground and like breathing 50% oxygen. Like this is all like stuff that like is important for me to do those, because like
Right.
this is like my identity is like I want to go see the world. I
Of
want to see
course.
these different part of the world, right? How people live and connect with those people, right?
Right.
You know, I'm sure like Michelle and Paul feel the same way too. They travel,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, a ton the last months,
Oh yeah.
and
For sure.
yeah. So I think that's really the life. You know, it's whatever I felt like I want to do at the moment, the month. Um, yeah,
Hmm. Amazing.
Beautiful.
Amazing. It's really beautiful to see Hugh, you really living your life, you know, and it's amazing to see a lot of people that have left, you know, the MLM business that they were in, whatever cult that they were in, um, live their life, because one of the biggest things that they ingrained in our minds is that if you leave us, if you leave this organization, you will not be successful. You would not live your dream life. And for me, that was one of my struggles, and why I held on for so long was because I truly was afraid that I wasn't going to succeed outside of the business that I was in, MWBWW, as many of you guys
yep,
know.
yep,
So since we're on that topic as to, you know, the business, it's amazing to see how amazing you're doing, but a lot of people here want to know how it all started. So can you walk us through your journey as to where you were before you saw the business, who introduced you, what got you excited, and also the amount of success that you created within the business, because you weren't just anybody. Like, you were one of the 0.01% of the company, and you built a massive organization. So why don't you kind of walk us through that journey?
yeah,
Um,
sure.
and just to add to that, Hugh, when you're walking through that journey, can you point the focus more on like, okay, I saw this business for this reason.
Mm-hmm.
I kept doing this business for that reason. However, I realized that something was amiss in terms of me doing this business for this reason, and this is what caused it. But on the way there, I was able to achieve these things as well. You know
Right.
what I mean? because I really
Yeah.
want us to go into especially stuff with Elliot, which I'm pretty sure is gonna come up during you talking about that.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, my starting the business, I mean, to not to also repeat the first podcast I put out already. So I'll give it more like a quicker, just like a journey, who I was and how I got started and like the end point of the business. So I got started was 19 years old, college student, freshman, and just like one of those just like very ambitious person that's going just starting life in college. And I felt like I got attracted by my sponsor and the business team initially because I was looking for things to do that's outside of the normal quote unquote like routes people take. Go to college, get a job. I felt like, okay, wait, that's great, but it's like kind of boring. Everybody does that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me
Mm-hmm.
do something extra. And that's usually the people that get attracted in the business, at least from a lot of the people that I see in my group and other groups. And then there's obviously the other group that were people that needed the money. So I was in the
Mm-hmm.
category more just like, I'm not really desperate for money, but I was desperate for looking for something that I can do, I can be part of. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's give me a lot of self growth value, as I'm very
Mm-hmm.
growth minded. Like I
Right.
want to make sure that I'm doing something that help me grow as a person, more skills, more knowledge, help me expand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that aspect, like the network marketing group, they do a very good job in attracting young people from that aspect. Like they'll present to you like, hey, what kind of a growth opportunity you have, and they really presenting this in like it's like you get everything package, right? They don't
Mm-hmm.
just say, oh, you make money, and they will
Mm-hmm.
also like I want you guys to understand like when people in network marketing reach out to you, they are studying you from the day one,
Yeah.
from the first encounter they have. They're really trying to get a data about what matters to you, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's this community you're looking for. Because a lot of international students like myself, we're also for looking for communities because we don't have any friends when we start here in the US, right? A lot of international
Right.
students I recruited back in the days, they also, they found an environment they can quickly be friends with people, right? So
I
whatever
Mm-hmm.
they're
like to
looking
say,
for.
Hugh, I like to say that they're master psychologists.
Oh yeah,
For
absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like their job is to psychologically break you down to like what matters to you and what's
Hmm.
important to you so that they can use that to control you later,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
For sure.
Or appear to you so that like you like if you're not like that big into like financial reason, then they don't talk about it. They talk about like, oh, how much community you get, or how much like
Right.
help you get from like people just supporting
Or
you,
your
right?
why. Or your why. Is
Your
your why?
Yeah.
why. Yeah.
If you guys remember, like
Right.
that's literally the first meeting we sit down with people talk about like, their why,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, at that time you think, oh, that's the right thing to do because it is important to know if you're pursuing entrepreneurship, like why you're doing this. But what
Hmm.
we don't see the other side is that they're using that as a way to pull you, so they
Mm.
know what's matter to you, and they'll just keep feeding you that. Like some people, they crave for that recognition. They crave for somebody
Right.
that like recognize who they are and actually give them compliments, right?
Right.
In one of the podcasts I did with Bobby, we talk about like how people can be manipulated and controlled either with compliments or criticism. They both
Mm.
can be tools of manipulation, right? I
Yep.
mean, Noble and Kathy did a bunch of talks on, the dark side of high EQ, right? Emotional
Right.
quotient. That's what it
Hmm.
is because having a high EQ or being able to understand and detect human emotions, it is a very powerful tool to do good things and also can be used to do a lot of bad stuff,
Mm-hmm.
especially now we've seen that in this business, right? So I got started as a young student. I started because I met a bunch of people that like they talk, like they are very ambitious, they're very sharp, they're very driven, right? But at the
Right.
time, I obviously don't have the understanding I have right now to see the dark side of those stuff, of
Mm.
having those ambition, but then disregard, other people's benefit, just only pursuing that for their own benefits, right? But at the time, I only see the positives. I only see the positive people of like have very high EQ where they know what to say to befriend other people. They know what to
Mm.
say to make other people feel good. They know what to say to look good and seem in control, how to build charisma on stage, right? Like there's
Right.
very charismatic people that we were part of, the team that we're part of.
Oh
There's
yeah.
some very
Oh yeah.
charismatic people,
Oh
just like
yeah.
all the other
Oh
cults out there.
yeah.
All the cults have very charismatic leaders, right?
For sure.
Yeah. And some of them are actually genuinely good people, but they're just being part of it without knowing what they were part of, right? Just like what we were before, that,
Right.
you know, we let people into this organization without fully knowing what we're getting them into, right? So that's the person I was. I got attracted by this group of highly high EQ, you know, quote unquote ambitious, smell good, look good people. And, you know, they were able to persuade me, like, you know, how this is great for me, right? They basically tap into my why and realize that I'm the kind of person that look for this kind of growth in this community. So they tap into my why and use that to basically got me fully hooked on the business team, right? And I have been excelled pretty quickly in the business. You know, went on to recruit like 40 people in just a few months of time. I think by the third year, easily brought in like 100 people, and eventually built out to like $1 million business in like maybe a couple, 4 or 5 years. And then I think eventually get up to maybe $2 or $3 million before I left the business. You know, core business level called Emerald, which I think according to the Amway brochure is like 0.01%, right? 1 in 10,000 people qualify Emerald. And I was one of the 1 in 10,000 people that did it, right?
Wow.
And then leaving after that, right? So getting to the decision to leave, there's like quite a few things that lead up to it, but we'll start from the beginning. Is that you actually will have this gut feelings. You know, all of us will have this like intuitions, gut feelings, this just like you felt something's not right. And I read a book a few years ago called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. I should dive into this topic about how your intuitions are not just like some random mysterious feelings that doesn't mean much. Your intuition sometimes is actually a very logical thing. It's actually very reasonable. Is that they tap into a lot of your subconscious. So what your intuition telling you is that your intuition is running a lot of that calculations from your past experiences, but in your subconscious, not your conscious mind. So you may not be able to fully elaborate why you're feeling suspicious of someone, why you're feeling that person, or why you felt that something's off, right? So all this instincts that we get, intuition we get, they're actually backed by actual real data from our life and our experiences, right? So I have those intuitions and those instincts about something's off about this business and what we do since very early on. Like even like I remember the first month in the business. I think a lot of you guys can relate to this. The first month in the business, they already tell us to, you know, fake report our customer receipts. When none of us saw anything, but we asked, oh yeah, don't worry, just, you know, report as you sold 50 points. You know, just report as you sold a couple products to your grandma, whatever, right? And it's not a big deal. The downplaying is not a big deal, right? Like, what kind of organization that teaches you to lie literally in your first month? Like that was actually the first thing they teach you to do is like how to lie, you know, on your reportings. And later to find out that almost 90% plus easily, if not 95% of people all lied on this. That everybody that I know of, they all lie on the customer reporting. But none of us, we actually sold 50 points of products. We all just reported just so that we get a check and it doesn't, you know, reflect them. And, you know, because according to Federal Trade Commission, a legitimate business needs to sell most of the products to end users, not by their distributors, right? But that was like the first thing that we were taught to do the first month. But guess what? I simply overlooked it. It's like, oh, you know, this is fine. Just like one little thing, you know, this mentor, this business owner, like they probably know better than I do, right? Because that's how they position themselves. Is that they position themselves as this know all, know better mentors where you're supposed to listen to them. Like you don't know anything. You should just listen to them. Like they build up this authority is part of this system to build up this image where you're supposed to follow. You're not supposed to question them. And if you question them on whatever they teach you to do, they always have this, you know, strategy and this ways of how to manipulate with the language, tell you that, you know, your instinct's wrong, you know, you don't know what's going on. You just listen to them. Right. So we see this, like I see this like red flags all through my entire career, 12 years in the business, whether it is from reporting fake customer reporting the first month, you know, or not making the money, not making profit for like a year, 2 or 3 years down the road. Like, yeah, maybe we qualify platinum and qualify, you know, sapphire, whatever, and we'll get a trip of a couple $1,000. But in reality, a lot of us, we are putting way more money in than we're taking out, even after years in business. You know, like imagine like all the platinums with our business. At one point, I remember I have about like 30 platinums in the team.
Wow.
And most platinums maybe make about $1,000 to $2,000 a month, maybe.
Right.
So
Right.
much.
And that's like that, and that's like the revenue. That's like a
Yeah.
couple years in, right? And we talk about a couple years in, and that's their revenue, and that's not even counting the money they spend in the business, right? If you add all the expenses going to conferences and all the other stuff, the miles they drive and spending hundreds of dollars a month on buying the audios and the books, I realized that most of my planners don't make profit. Probably like 90% of them actually, the planners don't even make profits.
Wow.
They actually end up losing money that year. And that's what we were talking about, the few, the 30 out of maybe like 1,000 people that actually get to plan level, they actually don't even make money. I still remember this so clearly. This is like one of those distinct moments. I didn't share this on the previous podcast, but this image was in my mind. I want to share. I was on a free trip. I was on a Q12 free trip in Miami, Florida. It was my second of the one that is either first or second trip.
Yeah.
My free trip to Miami, Florida, right? On one hand, you're supposed to look good. You're supposed to like post all this like, oh yeah, you're like earning free trips. You're sending pictures in Facebook. You're sending messages to all your groups like 10, 11, showing the videos of hotel. And I'm doing all that. I'm taking videos of me hanging on the beach, right? How nice the room is. But in reality, I remember like I have no money in my checking account.
Wow.
I had no money in my checking account.
Wow.
Like I did not make money that year because going Q12, it drains all, putting it all back in business. So quite literally, that was maybe 5 or 6 years in business ready, like 6 years maybe. That I was looking good, like, oh yeah, like Hugh qualified as Sapphire level, blah, blah, blah. And they were parading me like across all the conferences and seminars, like parading, like, because like, see, when you kind of like grow to like a nice level in business, you become a tool right away. They want to use you as a tool to parade around the team so they can use you to like, you know, motivate the other people, right? But what they never want to do is they never want you to reveal what exactly was your financial status at that point. Right. They didn't want to know like, hey, what's your net profits that year? Nobody asks what's your net profit. If you think about your experience, nobody tells you the net profit. It's always gross or their projected growth. That's even better. They tell you their projection. Oh, I'm going to go Emerald in 2 years from now. That's like they're literally what they teach you to say. It's like, hey, you know, if you don't want to tell people how much you make because you make pathetic money, just tell them you're going to be proud next year, right?
Right.
Well,
they would tell you
Hugh, isn't it funny how it was clear while we're in the business that these people actually have no money in comparison to actual business owners. However, like when we're out of it now and actually can like look from an objective standpoint, we're like, oh man, like it was so obvious. But then while we're in it, we were just like, this is it for us. You know what I mean? Like seeing these guys on the stage is like, this is all I want.
Yeah, like I just remember the moments like I was like, what am I doing? It was like maybe 7 years in the business, 6 years, like what am I doing here? Like I'm supposed to be putting out all those like content on Facebook and WhatsApp groups to let people know how they should be motivated here to join me. But here I am sitting there. That year, I make no profits. My profit was zero. Like all the money that I made, I put it back in the business.
And what level was that?
That was maybe like Sapphire, I think. I don't even remember. Probably Sapphire level business. Like I was there sitting in, imagine this picture. I was sitting in the beach in Miami, you know, in the sun, soaking up the sun, taking pictures. So when my checking was like almost down to zero, like my hotel room was paid with like, you know, like Amway credit card, but then like even they need like deposits. I was like feeling bad about, man, I got a whole deposit on my credit card. You know, it's like that was the thought in my mind. Like there's like those moments that you realize like there is something really wrong here. There gotta be something really wrong here. It just doesn't make sense, right? Yeah. But then, like Mark said, sometimes like when you're in the environment, like you always find ways to justify yourself. Like, oh, you know, maybe it's gonna get better. That's why like the most common thing, like it's gonna get better. You know, like once I get there, everything will be okay. It's like, oh, when I get there, then everything will be okay. No matter how bad it is right now, right? So you're completely living in the future that doesn't even exist. And
Right,
then
right.
when you eventually get there, you realize how ugly it was when you get there. And
Mm,
that was like my third point. So after Sapphire, after like still don't make money, so you know what? Let me just stuck through it, right?
right.
And then on my 10th year, I started my Emerald qualification. So now finally I'm getting to this pin. There's like 0.01% people that supposedly made it now.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
qualified Emerald that year. I finally qualified Emerald that year. And I think I made close to about $80,000 that year, combining Amway income and the Brewer income from the tool system. And that's when I really start getting a peek at how much money they make from the tools, from like selling
Mm,
those materials.
right,
Because my Amway income was always like very, very small, not that big at all.
right.
Because this is the way how they taught us, was just focus on recruiting. We didn't really go out there and sell a ton of products. It was never the focus.
Right,
You know,
right.
it was always go out there and recruit a lot of people and make sure everybody goes to conference. I still remember like now that they will encourage me to make sure people, when they don't have money to buy products, make sure they put the money in the tools anyways. Like forget about,
Mm-hmm.
oh, they can't buy Amway products, no big deal. But make sure they get a ticket to the conference. Make sure they buy all the audios and the books. And then going
Mm-hmm.
to Emerald, that's the really wow, big awakening, was to
Mm-hmm.
realize, you know what, like the check that I will be getting from Brewer Wife on the tools is way bigger than my Amway check.
Wow.
So I went Emerald, and that year I have two Emeralds in the team, right? I have one Emerald from New York and one Emerald from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So if they didn't go Emerald, I would be making probably close to like 100 grand from selling the tools and materials, and probably maybe like 30, 40, 40, 50, 40, 50K from Amway.
Wow.
So I realized that my tool income would be probably like double the amount of
Right,
money I get paid from Amway. And then that's when
right.
I realized like all those guys that look good and like have big, income, whatever, I realized actually most of them, majority of income actually not even coming from the business that we've been talking about for a decade,
Right, right.
was selling the
Exactly.
tools to build a business.
Correct.
There's like a great analogy that I heard from like, various like books and stories. They talk about like in the gold rush back in the days in California, when people just, landing in the US and they were in the gold rush, going out west looking for gold. A
Mm,
lot of people going for digging for the gold may not make money and become wealthy, but the ones that selling shuffles, selling like all the tools to dig out the gold, they become very wealthy of selling the
mm.
tools to dig gold. And they will be like happily
Interesting.
promoting there's always more gold for you to dig, because they want to sell the tools. They want to sell the water supply, right? They want to sell the tools to dig this fake gold mine that's out there somewhere. And that's when we
Mm,
realize that's exactly what those quote unquote leaders are doing. They're pointing
right.
to you like, hey, there's gold there. There's money in the Amway business. There's a lot of money in network marketing. They are trying to tell you this image like there's a ton of money in network marketing. But then what they're really doing is that once you believe there's a lot of money in network marketing, now they can sell you a ton of money on the tools. And
Right.
that's where they make the big bucks.
Mm,
And that's
mm-hmm.
exactly what I find out, because when I go Emerald, they actually show me all the calculations, how you make money.
Right.
The diamonds make like $40 per function ticket. The Emerald get
Mm,
$10 per function tickets. And we get like $2.50 per book. We got $2.75 all for like every order that you download, right?
yep.
That's what it is. And that's exactly why I realized, damn, this guy has been making hundreds and thousands of dollars off my business. And one of is making peanuts from the Amway business. And to a point, like they don't really care about Amway anymore, because
Right.
when 80% or 70% or 60% of profit all coming from the tools, they could care less about like, if you succeed Amway or not. They just
Right.
make sure that they have enough people coming to conferences and buying the tools, buying into their
Mm-hmm.
mentorship. That's all that matters.
Mm.
I think
So
that's why we even saw like a power struggle happening in the higher ranks recently, because there's no big honcho anymore. Everyone's
Yeah.
trying to control how that money flows now.
Right.
yeah,
Right. And Hugh, so when they showed you like, oh, now that you're an Emerald, like look how much money you're gonna be making, what was going through your mind during that time? Because some uplines think like, oh, he's if he sees how much money he's gonna make at Emerald, he's definitely gonna go Diamond. So I'm curious to see what you were thinking when you saw all that money and
Yeah.
realize, you know, yeah, because some people think, man, wouldn't you be excited? Wouldn't you just keep it
Yeah.
going?
No, I'm
But, you
sure
know,
that's
I
what they
always
feel
say that
too.
genuine people always wake up. So, yeah, I'm curious to see how you
Yeah.
felt during that time.
Yeah, they probably felt like, oh my God, now like, you know, now you're making the big money, you should be super excited, right? Like
Right,
that's probably what
right,
goes through their minds. Like now you know like where the money is, like, you know, promote the heck out of it. That's probably what it going through their mind, and that's probably what they thought
right,
goes through my mind. Because I
right.
remember this like one of our quote unquote mentor coach. I remember like when he became like the main coach, when he qualified emerald level, because now I can
Mm-hmm.
draw the reason why he does this. When he
Right.
became the emerald level, you know, our quote unquote mentor, when he qualified,
Correct.
suddenly he started consulting everybody in the business to make how much CDs going through the group a metric, a key metric that they're going to evaluate
Mm.
every single month. Like
You know,
before
I
he became an
remember that
emerald,
too.
I remember that very
I
vividly.
remember my upline, which everybody knows him as Elmo now. Yeah, that's a good point. Continue.
yeah. So before he became like the main counselor, the mentor for this big group, when he called it before he calls emerald, like he didn't think about the CDs or books as that critical, you know, like you buy if
Mm.
you want to. But then when he becomes Emerald, suddenly now everybody in the organization has to present the numbers, the tool flow, like how many
Yep.
CDs you buy in your group, how many books you buy in your group. They have to report those numbers now, and that's like how they evaluate their business.
Correct.
Now, after I go Emerald, I realize that's why, because he went Emerald and he sees like 80% of his money is tied into these numbers, not the Amway sales. Of course,
Mm.
that's what he did. So he probably thought that would motivate me to do the same thing as he did. But we didn't realize for me was like, I felt really
Wow.
bad. I felt really sad, first of all, that I didn't knew all this stuff, that was real the game, right? That was a real game.
Mm.
So the
Wow.
initial thought was like, I was a little bit shocked. And I just felt really bad. Like that the whole time, this was really the game of the business. And everything they
Mm.
said, like about like, then it becomes very just like you are like you realize that you're kind of living a double life now, because
Mm.
you go on stage and you talk to people and you talk about all this value about, you know, honesty. You know, there's literally training topics on integrity, right?
Right,
Like that's
right.
actually part of our trainings, either in bigger or smaller group settings. Like we train about
That's
integrity
core
of business,
values.
about the core values, right? The things we're supposed to
Yeah,
believe in, like
yeah.
transparency,
Mm-hmm.
honesty, you know, looking out for the other people, you know, put your team ahead of yourself, like all those stuff that like we actually believed in, like we think those are good values to have. And then we look back and realize they live complete double life. Like they will say all the stuff on the stage because it sounds really good, but in reality, like it's like the most shady thing ever going on. Like because nobody knows the black box of where the money is made,
Wow.
you know,
And
and
you
just
figured this out 10 years in, right?
right. It's 10 years in
Which is
when I get a
important for
real good luck at
people.
the yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this is important for people to see because there's some people that were in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and then there's some people that fight with a combi and I mean, sometimes I get hate messages from people that just joined an MLM business like a year ago or a
Mm-hmm.
few months. Hugh didn't realize this basically the scam that he was in until 10 years in because sometimes that amount of time or even a little bit more is what it takes for you to get it or to get to
Yep.
that level and then realize like, oh shit, I'm in the biggest scam that there is.
I mean,
So
Yeah.
it's important to notice that.
it's like the high wearing off. You know, it's more of
Yes.
not making decisions based on solely in emotion anymore, but start to actually be logical about decisions. You know,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
kind of being new again. Like when you
Mm-hmm.
approached it with a lot of skepticism because you were being more logical based.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very hard, I
Yeah.
think, for people in a year, a few years to really understand the stuff that we
Mm.
talk about that we see because they're not going to reveal it to you.
Right.
Nope.
And
Exactly.
also
Exactly.
because sometimes like Mark just said, Kama just said, if you don't step back and look at through like a very, you know, reasoning angle, if you just go in there bundle with the emotions, and you know they're very good at, you know, get your emotions riled up
Oh
Right.
yeah.
because that's what confidence does,
Oh
right? Just
yeah.
get too emotional. They don't want you to see. They
Yeah.
don't want you to make logical decisions. That's not what they
No.
want. They don't want you to make
No.
reasonable decisions. They want you to be entirely emotional, right? And it's
Yeah.
very hard
Exactly.
to see through this stuff because they are very well designed to hide this information and not going to reveal it to you. And I think people still have their own journey to go through. And that's why like I don't really fight with people on social media or like really debate with people on social media anymore, because there's really no point.
Yeah,
Because
agreed.
they're not arguing with you on logic. They're not arguing for the actual example they bring forward. What they're defending is that they're defending their dreams, because they were just like us. You know, we tie this business, this adventure to our dreams, right?
Right.
Like we think those are the same thing. We think that my dream is Amway. My dream is multi-level marketing. Like this is our dream. This is our way to get to the dream. And that's how they've been teaching and programming us to think that way. So therefore, you know, denying the business or admitting that there's a lot of things are seriously wrong with this, it's basically denying the dream, right? So unless you can pull away from that, unless you can pull away like, no, my dream is not completely only tied to network marketing. Like I can still achieve my dreams and do all the stuff without this thing. Unless you can pull away from that,
Yeah.
you're not gonna be able to really look through this from a very clear angle.
Right. Right.
So, Hugh,
Wow.
there's something that really caused you to just be like, boom,
Yeah.
no, this, I'm seriously thinking about like leaving here.
Yeah.
And I think you said the first actual time when you and I spoke was when what happened to Elliot had happened,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see those red flags along the way, but the red flags were not enough to, they put like some seeds of doubts in there. And I think the biggest one for me when I really have the moment like, wow, like this thing may not be what I thought it was. Like the first time really having that moment, like seriously doubt. Yeah, was when I sit down in a coffee shop with my, like he's a guy that actually brought me in the business. You know, he should really be my sponsor really. This guy, his name is Elliot King. Elliot, he was the one that presented me the business when I first saw the business. I still remember today. Freshman, just started school, maybe 2 weeks into school. This guy that lived in a dorm, you know, some cool kid, say hi to me, started a chat, blah, 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 something about business. And he brought me to meet this guy that going to show me the business. And that was the day I met Elliot for the first time. He's the one that presented me the business. He was the one that brought me to meet all the people. And he was just a seriously cool dude. Like, I love that guy. He's just like a cool, very genuine person.
He was the heart of our entire business team. He was the reason why our whole business team grew.
Wow.
Not the person who is at the top now. He was the reason.
Yeah, he was like the gel. Like he was really the person that gel everybody together. Like everybody that I brought in the business, the first person I wanted to meet Elliot. Yeah. Because like, I was so drawn to him because he's like this, he's not like anybody else in network marketing. He's actually a very genuine person. He has his own flaws for sure. You know, but he's just like a fireball of energy, very genuine. He's very spiritual. He read a lot of books. And he's like very, very funny dude. Super funny, super fun to hang out. And being like a 19-year-old kid, I just love to be around this guy. I was like, this guy's cool. Right. I'll do anything with this dude, right? And so my first couple of years of success, I would say a huge part of that, majority of that is dedicated to Elliot helping me, because he was a guy that's like, you know, naturally drawn people to him. Like everybody in the team loves him. I still remember when he first moved. I'm not sure, Mark, if you know the story. When he moved from like one house to another house in Madison, our entire team showed up to help him move.
Oh yeah.
We have 40 people either. I'm not sure you were there or not, but
no, I wasn't there, but I know the story.
Yeah, so 40 of us, literally 40 people in our business team showed up and moved his entire house. We unloaded everything from his home, got in his truck, unloaded all to his new place.
Wow.
And that was like, because everybody loved that guy. And I still, you know, every time, like, I still think about him all the time. I think about him all the time. He passed away now for almost...
About 4 or 5 years now? 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years now, he passed away. And I think about him all the time. And the first real doubt moment in my mind was when he got kicked out of the business team. He got kicked out about 4.5 years when I was in business. He got kicked out because he failed his marriage. He got divorced. And his ex-wife was also in the business. And just like anybody that went through this kind of a, you know, life situation, they are down, they need a lot of support, they need a lot of love. That's when they need their close friends, right? You know, like now, as like when you're out of this MLM cult, when you can think and love people like a normal human being, you think that if one of your best friends going through this, even if he fucked it up, he made some mistake, you give him a lot of love. You're there to support him, right? You'd be like, hey man, like, I know you fucked things up. I know you made a lot of mistakes, but I'm here to love you. I'm here to support you. Like, call me if you need anything. Like, I'm here, right? Just let me know. We're here for you. Like, just let us know. This is how a normal, non-cultish person would behave, right?
Right.
But how he was dealt with when he was going through a divorce was when people realized that he was emotionally unstable. You know, big news. Apparently, people don't know that people will be unstable when they found divorce, right? When those mentors found that he was unstable, he was no longer an quote-unquote assets or useful tool in the business, they decided, you know what, you are no longer welcome in our team. You have to be out of Madison. So they actually told him that you are not allowed to come to our meetings in Madison. You are no longer welcome. Right after he got his divorce, probably within like a month. Yeah, he was partying.
That is
he was
so
like,
sad.
you know, he was partying, doing all the stuff. But like, what do you expect people to do, right? When people get
Right.
get divorced, they're like
transferred
sad.
his whole team got stripped away from him and transferred over to his no ex-wife.
Right.
Insane.
Yep. And they convinced him to sell his business, I think a year or two later. But yeah, at the time they kicked him out of the business. Like, you're no longer welcome. You have to, you know, stay away. You're not welcome. That's basically what they said. And don't talk to your team. And like for some of us like who've been there for a little bit longer, we know him very well. Like you know, my first reaction was like, hey, let me reach out, like, you know, like everything okay. And I remember his mentor, his you know, his ex's brother, told me like, he's like, Hugh, you know what, don't talk to Elliot. He's not stable, you know, right now he's not gonna be able to help your business, to like just stay away. So basically the point was he told me to stay away from him and don't bring a team around him. So in that situation, those, you know, quote unquote mentors, their priority was not, hey, let me take care of my, you know, my wingman, the guy that helped me build so many years, but let me take care of him, see what he needs. Their first reaction is like, hey, let's minimize his damage. Let's see how we can make sure that he doesn't, you know, affect other people's business, you know, don't affect our bottom line. You know, that's just not how I think about it. Like in the MLM business, they crap on jobs all the time, right? They crap on like how job sucks, the corporate culture sucks. But now I've been working at a couple of different companies now. I don't see any corporation treat people that way. Like, can you imagine like you go through divorce and then your boss like telling all the other employees, hey, don't ever reach out to Michelle because he got divorced now. He's no good for us. Don't ever talk to her. No
That's
company
very
would
true.
say that. No employer would do that. Right? I don't think any of your coworkers, employee will do that. People will employ empathy, right?
Yeah.
But then this is supposed to be like high moral, high like, you know, next generation, you know, tribe community. They're the one that doing the most culty shit. They're the one to tell people like, hey, you know what? He's going through divorce. Don't talk to him. And I remember he's like so sad and so broken at that point, because like for me now, knowing his personality, he's a very prideful person. His only way out is he's going to do something else. He's not going to admit that he's going to be, you know, he's going to be kicked out of the business. Which what he did was he sat down with me one day. He's like, you know, hey, Hugh, like just so you know, I'm going to Jamaica to build business because that's the year that Amway launched in Jamaica. He's like, oh yeah, you know, I'm gonna go to Jamaica to build a business, because now it makes sense because he doesn't want to admit that he's been kicked out because he's a very prideful person. So his only option was, okay, I'm gonna fly to Jamaica and build business there, right? And met up with the AcadM.E. And right before he left, we sit down in the coffee shop, we chatted for a little bit. I don't remember everything else he said, but I remember he leaned forward towards me. He said, Hugh, he looked me in the eyes. He said, Hugh, you know what? Your uplines are not what they say they are. They're not what they seem they are.
Wow.
That was the last one-on-one conversation that me and Elliot ever had. Either the last one or the last two conversations. I think we had a couple conversations on the phone call, like over the phone. maybe like saw him in person once when he was in Jamaica in the conference. But there was that last real like one-on-one sit down talk. Me and him had a conversation before his mind just completely drifted away. That was the real last conversation we had. It was like, Hugh, your uplines are not who they say they are. And that hit me real hard because like that was the first time like I heard something like this. It was like, hey, the people who you think are good, trustworthy people, they're not what you think they are. Like that's a very big statement to make because I trusted all of them. Like I trust them greatly at that point. Like I have complete trust in all of them. Elliot, Craig, all these people, I completely trust all of them.
Right.
And hear me, Elliot telling me that, hey, Craig, Rashmi, they are not what they say they are. Hearing him say that to me was a very powerful thing. And that's like the real seed of doubt that put in my head. I didn't think much of it because I was only like maybe 21 or 22 years old. I was still very young. I didn't know how to process it. You know, like I was completely tying my dream to the business at that point, thinking that, you know, the business was my life. Like I literally thought the business was my life at that point.
Right.
Even for years after that, I thought that like I'll never leave the business. Like I'll always build Amway until I go to the grave. That was actually my real thought was like, I'm going to build this Amway thing until I die.
Right.
You know, there was never a thought occurred that like I will leave the business or the people that I trusted wholeheartedly was non-trustworthy. So when he made that statement, that was like the real serious seeded doubt from the first member.
So you want to hear something, Hugh and Michelle, that I don't think anybody has ever heard about the Elliot story.
No.
A lot of you guys don't know this, but really and truly, Elliot to me was the one who spearheaded the growth in Jamaica. Hugh, you know, we had at one point up to 450 people in our business team.
And that's like another thing about Elliot, right? He freaking nails the business. He's a people person. Exactly. He goes to Jamaica, he there, you, Paul, three of you with this crew. That's how we grow Jamaica to like hundreds and hundreds of people. Like we were the Amway's, like the flag, right? It was planted by you, Elliot, and Paul.
Well, the thing is, Elliot's his big heart seemed to have been what got him in trouble because he spearheaded our shipping problems that we had in Jamaica. I discussed this in depth in the last live, so I won't go into it. However, what Elliot basically did is he came and helped us with the shipping issues. And there was a lot of instances where, remember you were talking about the tools, Hugh? Elliot would literally, everyone who we started, Elliot would literally say, hey, here's a hard drive about 100 gigs worth of talks. These are the talks that you want to carry your new people to. He was like, don't buy any of the tools. It makes no sense. You guys can't afford it. It makes no sense for you to buy them. Use this hard drive and just keep passing it in your team. Actually create a shared folder so everyone who gets signed up can get access to this for free. So the thing is, Elliot was the only one who cared about Jamaica because Jamaica was only bringing in Amway income.
Right.
No one else cared about Jamaica.
Yeah.
None of the diamonds, none of his uplines cared about Jamaica, right?
Yeah.
Because we were not bringing in BWW income.
Yep.
And I believe, because Elliot said this to me, he said that they're trying to get him out of the team because he's having issues with his wife because he's serving Jamaica too much.
Oh my God.
He's taking too many trips or doing these different things.
Interesting.
So, hey, I don't know the details of everything. However, I honestly believe it was to get him out of the business. I honestly believe it was planned to kind of mess with him mentally and get him out of the business eventually.
Yeah, because they want business to go to his ex-wife.
Exactly.
Yeah, they want Elliot to sell the business, which he did, you know. And
he did.
Like knowing the people that I worked with now looking back, that's exactly what they would do. Is as soon as they realize either you're leaving or you're on your way out, their thought is not, hey, how to take care of this person. Their thought is, how do I take your business now? Now that you're leaving,
Yes. Yes.
let me find a way to take everything that you built to this point and take
Mm-hmm.
that transfer to my business team.
Yep.
Explain what happens when they take the business, Hugh, because a lot of
Yeah.
people don't know the ins and outs of how this
Oh
thing
yeah,
works.
right.
Yeah.
People
Yes.
actually they actually believe that like, oh yeah, they can't steal from you, they can't take it, but yes they can. Oh,
Yes,
they
they
totally
can.
can.
They
They
stole
do it
all
all
my
the time.
business. They stole
They do it all
Yeah.
everything I built.
Yeah,
So
they do
yeah,
it all
go ahead.
See, because they built so much of their, their power and their positional leadership, their management that they create for themselves. Like they're the gurus, they're like the shot calling person. There's so much influence in that group, and they build it that way so that when they can de-edify you, they can anytime. They can edify you, they can bring you up, they can put you on the pedestal, like put a seat, like, oh, let's applaud this person. They can also drag you down very quickly as well too.
Mm-hmm.
So when they realize, okay, you're either on your way out or you're no longer profitable, or like, so whatever. So they don't like you anymore, whatever reason, right? What they will do, they will force you out of business.
Yep.
Like what they did to Elliot, like, oh, you're no longer welcome. They don't invite you to meetings. They basically, isolate you,
Yep.
and you're no longer in any the inner circles. And
Yep.
then they'll bring people in your team that they want to steal to the inner circle that you are no longer part of. So they'll
Right.
basically go around you to work with your team, and then they will tell your team how messed up you are.
Yeah.
In Elliot's case, like
Yep.
what they telling me was, how he was like drug problems. He has like marriage issue because he was sleeping around. They basically spread whatever rumor, like
which
whether it's
is a
fact or
lie.
not, you don't know.
Which
Yeah.
is a lie, because they said he did it when he was in Jamaica, and he didn't do any of that when he was in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
He
Yeah,
didn't do any of
because
that when he was in Jamaica. While he was still married, he did not do any of that.
yeah, they would just tell you anything that they need to say so that they can discredit you, and then they can tell your team like, you know what, yeah, Michelle, yeah, she's no longer a leader. She's doing some
Yeah.
other stuff. She's like, having issues with this and that, relationships, whatever they need to say, right? Oh yeah, AcadM.E is not trustworthy. He's like, you can't trust that guy, blah, 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 blah. They will say whatever they need to say to discredit you. And then they will hint to them like, oh, well, but I'm so busy working with such a large team that I have. So I want to help you, but you know what? If you want my help, like you have to restart your business and join my, sixth leg.
Yes. Yep. And I just have to mention that, Hugh, because the same thing happened to me. They do that especially to people like Elliot who have massive influence within the organization. Because Elliot was the one that brought you in, the one that brought Paul in, the one that really created Jamaica. He had so much influence, so much love. So many people respected and loved him. And then they just brought him down and just convinced everyone that he was just not capable or whatever happened. And so everybody believed this leader because Elliot was once a part of this inner circle, right? Michelle was once a part of this inner circle. So if the upline is saying that I shouldn't listen to her or him, I should really pay attention to that. I know Noble and Kathy just said that happened to them too. It's exactly what happened.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the same strategy
So
over and over again. Because you look at
yeah.
the patterns for every person that left the business, that's also what they tell people, when I saw that people leave the business, exactly what they would say. It's always something wrong with that other person. Their
Right.
spiritual issues, their like, finance issues, their relationship issues. There's always their problem. Their life's messed up. It's never like anything wrong with us. Like we're always perfect. We're the ones that like, it's gonna go all the way to the diamond, and the other ones, the losers that left, they couldn't handle it, right? Or mess up their life. And that's exactly what happened to Elliot. They basically forced him out of business. So in a way, they forced him to sell his business to his ex-wife. And then, they did the same thing to me and Paul as well too.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they have to, Paul already got like this letter from one of his team members, maybe like a few months after he left. They sent him an email like, hey, can you sign this so I can transfer?
Yeah.
They didn't want to
Yep.
like build a relationship with you. They just want to take your business. Like actually
Yep.
for some people, like they couldn't wait for you to leave. Because
Yeah.
see, there's a real conflict interest in the business between you and your mentors and your uplines.
Yes.
People tend to think like the new guys are, oh yeah, they will always want to help me because like I'm part of the team. Why don't they want to help me? No. There's a ton of a conflict interest between you and your mentors.
Yeah.
Especially you get bigger.
This is a
Yeah.
maniac level type of need for control. This is a
For sure.
psychopath level
Yeah.
need for control, because as soon as you deviate from the system, it's like a hive. If you deviate from it, you are completely you're excommunicado.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Hugh, can you
and
elaborate a little bit more on that when you said that, as you get bigger, actually your upline despises you
yep,
and
you get
they
bigger.
don't want you to get bigger than them.
There's
And can
more
you talk
conflict
about why
interests.
that is? Yeah.
Very simple. Because me going Emerald a year or 2 years before I did, meaning that Craig will lose about 100 grand a year income.
Mm-hmm.
If I go Emerald earlier, every year that I went Emerald, that means he's losing $100,000 a year income from the tools from my team, because he wouldn't get the tool money. People are like, oh, well, he breaks the Emerald leg, he'll get,
Yeah.
like a bigger
A
1% check,
bonus. Yeah.
a little bit nicer 1% check. That 1% check, it doesn't even touch like the change that I will get from the
From the
breakaway
needed
income.
income.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
from the 400 people I have in function, I'll be pulling $100,000 a year from breakaway income. They will love to see me sit on Sapphire and never go Emerald, so they can
Right.
keep cashing that 100 grand check.
Oh, yeah.
You
And
know?
so what I'm glad that you mentioned that. This is important for people to realize why so many people were like, why didn't Michelle go Emerald? Why didn't Paul go Emerald? Why isn't these big leaders go Emerald? Literally, my upline, once he saw that I got close, he figured out what was my pain point and just dragged me down to make me question my growth and question myself and why I couldn't be bigger. And so they would try to break down my business, break down myself, so that way I don't move forward, because it will actually be an inconvenience for their income if I did.
Yeah.
So it's important for people to realize that, why is it that some of these big leaders don't have that many big other leaders following them? It's because it would actually ruin their income.
Oh yeah. I remember like
Yeah.
after I went either Sapphire or right before I go Sapphire, like I remember getting Craig on the phone for like a monthly game plan was like a big challenge to get him on the
Yeah.
phone. Like
Yeah.
I'll have him no show me for game plan multiple months in a row. I'll get no show for game plans. Because me going Emerald means he loses a crazy ton of money. He doesn't want
That
me
is
to game plan go
insane.
Emerald. Yeah.
Wow.
And
I remember staying up.
you are still his biggest group till
Oh
this
yeah. I
day.
remember
So why
staying
the
out
hell wouldn't he
until
pick up your call?
oh yeah. I remember staying out until like midnight, like an hour, like 30 minutes after the game plan time, just waiting for him to call me back for game plan. No phone calls. And then next day, okay, the text
Insane.
message, oh yeah, sorry, like got busy with this and this and forgot to call you.
Jesus Christ.
So there's actual really, really big financial interest for them to not want you to go Emerald after you go Platinum.
Correct.
Before you go Platinum, yes. Oh, they want to go how you go Platinum because they mean they break a leg. Now, if you're somewhere way deep in your mentor's team, then no luck. That doesn't matter to them anymore. Okay?
Yeah.
But before you go Platinum, they won't do everything to help you go Platinum. Once you go Platinum, good luck finding them.
Yeah.
Because anything after that, for them is no bonus. No good. You got to
Mm-hmm.
find your own way to go Emerald. And they might even create some roadblock for you. Or they might encourage you to, or they might just like, they will tell you some good way to like wait for another year. Like, oh,
Yeah,
it's
next
quite good to
year.
build it, right? Next year's okay, take it slow and like
Mm-hmm.
build your group and grow your function numbers this year and it's okay. Right? Because
Yeah.
there's real financial interest in doing that. And then another way they can steal your money, actually, Paul, I'm not sure if Paul told you, Michelle, but my mentor found a way to take about $18,000 worth of a sales order from an IBO in Paul's team and manipulate that to go into their 6 team so they can go diamond that month.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that person
Yeah.
have about 18 grand of sales coming in, and because like it's someone in Paul's team, so they just like reach out to me like, oh, by the way, this person have this big sales order coming in, and I'll help the person complete the transaction, and because like the number is not really good, I'll help them do the sale. And eventually what they do was they try to basically manipulate in a way that like, oh, it only makes sense if they would help the person do it, so therefore they should get the points. So they literally took 6,000 points and injected into their 6 leg to qualify that month. So they will do a lot of things to take your money and take your team members. So you may not see this when you're new, but like a few years in, you start seeing this stuff. You actually grow the business to a certain level.
That's next
Oh
level.
my
Yeah.
goodness gracious. I mean, Paul definitely told me that story, but just hearing it again is just like Wow.
That's next level.
Wow, that is next level. I want you to talk a little bit more about Hugh, now that we're in the topic of like, you know, your upline doesn't want you to hit Emerald, because when you won Emerald, you broke 2 emeralds.
Yeah.
So did you get any heat from that? Did you notice a change in your income? Like, did your upline try to like stop you or stop your team? Like, I'm curious to see what was your experience with that.
Yeah. I think at that point, like they already now going diamond, so they want to
Oh,
get
okay.
another upgrade on the tool income. So for them, like, oh, it's not a big deal anymore. They're not,
Got it.
you know, taking a huge hit, but they can also get a big bump in their
Mm-hmm.
tool income. You know, so also at that point, it's like I think a lot of us kind of also ready. We've been sitting and like getting the next level anyways. So for them, it's not a
Mm-hmm.
big deal that year to go, you know, for all three of us go emerald. And then for
Yeah.
me, it was realizing that like even with me having 2 emerald in the team, which means I lost majority of my tool income, I still
Mm-hmm.
get like a nice fat, some like 22,000 I think from Brewer Y, even with just my
Wow.
third team's numbers, which is a small number compared to my first 2 teams, right?
Right.
So which means that if I actually have the first 2 teams without going emerald, that means I'll be making over 100 grand just in the tool income, right? So that's kind of why I
Mm-hmm.
figured out that all their actions from the past, you know, whether counseling people on the tool flows in the monthly game plans, all the stuff start making sense because I start seeing the numbers. But if you
Right.
follow the money, it all makes sense now. Before I know about those
Mm.
numbers and those money, I was confused about some things, why they do certain things. Like why do people have to go to conference before even buying products? Why that audio $8 download would make any sense? You know, like when we went from a physical CD to streaming, like downloading this like, you know, audio online, it still costs the same amount of money. It makes zero sense for me.
Right.
Because if you're really thinking from your heart that you're doing this for the people to make it more convenient, more affordable for the people, the price should be dropping down to almost nothing because the cost of distributing a digital copy of audio is almost nothing. All you
Mm-hmm.
have to pay for if you're
Right.
hosting the file on the Amazon cloud somewhere, which is extremely cheap. Hosting a
Right.
digital file is nothing at all. You know,
Right.
selling an actual physical CD, I get it. There's distribution, there's logistics, there's shipping, there's warehousing, there's a manufacturing actual CD. Okay, maybe that costs a few dollars. You know, at that point, maybe $8, still kind of expensive, but I get it. But how do you go from
Mm.
that to letting people stream the audio online and still charge $8? But then after what Emerald
Mm-hmm.
realized, well, that's because there's now more profits for the top
Oh
guys to
yeah.
earn now for the tools.
Right. Right.
Way more profit.
Oh yeah, there's easily
Mm.
30-40% jump in profit just by switching online.
Yeah.
But they're not giving that back to the people that they claim they care so much about. They're not giving the saving like, oh, that we save 40%, so let's drop our price 40%. No, no, they give the 40% to the people in the top making the tool money.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then remember with this new thing now with even like the Zoom functions, they
Yeah.
love that because they don't
Yeah.
have to rent they don't have to rent places anymore. They don't have to worry about they eliminate so many different costs by having these Zoom functions that they're still charging the exact same price
Oh yeah.
for when it comes down to the tickets. Someone
Yeah.
asks, why would they tell you, wait, so what is the point of building a team if other people's success hurt you? I'm confused. The thing we're trying to highlight is that it helps to a point, right? For only certain pins. The bigger pins always benefit from teams being built when
Mm-hmm.
it comes down to that BWW income side greatly.
See, the problem is that they will never share how the BW income, the system tool income breaks down.
Mm-hmm.
Because they share with you, you'll be outraged once you
Yeah.
understand how much money that they make from actually selling the tools and actually building the business. If I
Right.
tell you that, you know what, your mentor who've been looking really good and driving all the flashy cars, they're only making 20% or 30% of money from Amway and 70% from selling you the CDs, how would that make you feel?
Mm-hmm.
Every
Mm-hmm.
time you buy the CD, you realize, you know what, I'm buying the CD, that's why they make the money, not because my Amway business growing.
Right.
Right. Right. Right. Right. Yeah. Some of these diamonds just probably make like what, 50 grand, maybe less than that from Amway, and the majority is from BWW, which is insane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Mark, I know we haven't really talk a lot about sharing information about what exactly happened to Elliot in Jamaica. So my my story with Elliot basically is when he left Madison, me and him had this conversation. He bounced to Jamaica, and then obviously he built a team, he built a warehouse there, and I know he got into a lot of trouble there, and he came back, and that's when he changed. His entire person is no longer there. You know, his spirit was gone. So maybe you can help me fill in the blank about what exactly took down, what happened there.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing, our biggest problem at all times in Jamaica was shipping. You know, after Elliot trained us up and, you know, got us indoctrinated into the system proper, we really knew how to recruit. Recruiting wasn't a problem in Jamaica. Our huge problem was shipping. So Elliot kept saying to me, I'm gonna fix it, don't worry. I'm gonna fix it, don't worry. I'm gonna fix it, don't worry. He told me he spoke to Craig. He ran it all the way up to Rashmi. However, Rashmi kept telling him, you know, Amway's been around for however much years and they've never had a warehouse being started, you know, built up. And they always gets figured out. He's not helping. He's not going to invest. He's not going to try and fix the shipping issue. But what Elliot was trying to show them was that, hey, Worldwide Dream Builders has an entire system set up for their business team down there, and they're smoking it. Why would we not want to do something as an organization? You know, because, you know, him as a Q12, I believe Elliot was a Q12, could have run it all the way up the chain to BWW mock committee, right? However, Rashmi could because, you know, Rashmi is in their pockets. And he never got through. So what Elliot decided to do was try and find investors to try and start the warehouse. However, the investors Elliot found were not necessarily the most trustworthy investors. So they had invested the initial batch. However, with what Elliot had proposed he was going to be able to do with them, it just wouldn't have happened with the amount of money that they invested. Especially given that with the cost of clearing and shipping in Jamaica and creating a system, how long it would take, they would not also be able to see the results in the time that Elliot told them. So we started the warehouse, we got a location, and you know, things just started to break down because I started to realize within the first month that Elliot was having a lot of issues mentally because his relationship with his wife was deteriorating very rapidly. And that would start to show up just not even like business interactions or meetings, but just me and him talking personally. You know, he would break down a lot when we spoke, you know, just saying he doesn't have anywhere to go. I remember at one point he was staying at my house for a month in Jamaica. And, you know, he would always be talking to his mom, and his mom would always say, hey, you can always just come here and stay. But, you know, as you were saying before, Hugh, Elliot just had this huge pride. And I know that within himself, he knew that he was responsible for a lot of the growth and a lot of the things that were happening in the business team at the time. But he was not able to get any form of credit or not only was it not able to reflect for him financially, it wasn't able to reflect for him in terms of just getting recognition, because we know he was stifled tremendously when it came on to that aspect in the States. In Jamaica, it was fine. You know, in Jamaica, we built him up plenty. And he was basically running the show majority of the time. But then in the third month, things just started to get wild with Elliot. He broke down significantly mentally. Even just when we were talking, he would just go off. I didn't see him as much as I used to see him. And whenever we had the meetings with him, myself, and Kevin, you know, Kevin was the guy who was hosting us. He had the building and everything. He would just always get into some major arguments with Kevin. Until and that at that time too, Sam was there, Sam Roos. And you know, he was telling me about just some crazy stuff that was happening with him back home in the States. And I really didn't know anything, you know, because Elliot was just there serving. It was only when he started to move very sporadic in our just regular interactions, you know, I started to be like, yo, something's not right. And then I found out from Paul that Elliot had thrown a party in Madison when he went back once. And apparently there was some smoking happening or anything or something like that. And because of that one thing, I found out that Craig went and reported him to Rashmi. And then Craig basically was like, yo, he needs to be out to the team, da 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 da. And I was like, why would Craig do that? Craig and Elliot started the business together. Elliot's basically his best friend that helped him build the business that he has right now. Why would he do that? Why would he go to Rashmi and say that? And you know, it's so funny. Like, I feel like such a hypocrite now. I remember when I just came back to, first of all, I spoke to Craig and said, hey, what's happening with Elliot? And he told me to stop talking to Elliot. He told me to not let the team have any form of interaction with Elliot. And, you know, I was the leader of the Jamaican team at that time. And I did what he said. I did what he said because I was so indoctrinated into the system.
Yeah.
And, you know, it even went to a point where I had Elliot on my Instagram, on my Facebook, and because of everything that was happening, I unfriended Elliot on Facebook. And, you know, shortly after that, I found out about, you know, about a couple of months after that, he was still stuck in, this fast forward a couple of months, he was stuck in Jamaica because of all the divorce stuff that was happening in the US. And to get back to the US, he threw over the US embassy that even came on the Jamaican news. That was the next time I heard about Elliot after unfriending him. And I went up to the police station that day to see if I could find him because my father is a police officer. And they were saying that he back to and shortly after he got deported back to the States, I think a year after was when he completed suicide. And it's just been something that's been with me for a very long time, even up to this day. The reason why I say I felt like a hypocrite because when I came back to my first function for a while, because I didn't come to any functions in the States for a while. And then my first one after Elliot had transitioned, Craig saw me and immediately came to me crying, hugging me. And I was like, what? You know, and I mean, I was crying too because I mean, Elliot's death affected me greatly. It still affects me. You know, but that was just so weird to me. Like, why are you beelining for me? At that time, I thought he was being authentic, but no, just thinking about it, I'm just like, why did he do that? You know. But that's what happened with Elliot. I think it was just they were on a witch hunt for him, and you know, he just wasn't able to mentally keep up, unfortunately, with that. So, yeah.
Wow. What a story.
Yeah.
What a story.
I
Literally
think
crazy.
I think like as people listen to this, I think obviously people who are new may not really fully understand the power of this kind of culture, what it does to a human psyche. And I mean, this is obviously, Elliot's story is a very extreme case when somebody is extremely vulnerable and very emotional, and in some of the worst cases, what can happen to a person. But this kind of a basic way how they play with the people and how to try to manipulate people's situations, it has caused a lot of people a lot of pain mentally and spiritually in many different ways. Like almost every single person that left the business has experienced some kind of psychological abuse, either being in the business for over a year. Like I heard so many people now have reached out to me and Paul after the podcast and told us about how they found some kind of closure after listening to the podcast, listen to us talk, because they were not able to address these issues, when they left the business, because a lot of them have similar situation where they got kicked out. Maybe they haven't went through the extreme scenarios where Elliot had, when you have a divorce and have all the issue that went down, but they all experience some level of psychological abuse. And that's like why I draw so much connection between this type of culture in MLM and the real like those cults out there. Like if you're really looking at all the tactics you use and how much like manipulation they employ, is not that different. It's really not that different from the cult. It's very, very similar to a cult. Like I don't feel bad or hesitate calling this culture that we've seen for years in Brewer White a cult, because that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what my experience was, and how I see this experience happen in many people's lives. That's exactly what it was.
Right.
Yeah. Like I think Jenny just typed in there. It is like a number, because they they program people to, for many years, look at as IBO is simply a person attached to a pin level, or like a number of PV, or number of people they can bring to a conference. Remember how many times we heard this word replace? We're training about how easy to replace somebody.
Oh yeah.
That's like how we basically be programmed to look at people as stepping stones. They can be replaced. Somebody that's no longer motivated, somebody having financial issues, somebody's not wanting to build business. Great, replace that person. It's that easy. It just gets replaced.
And I think the most dangerous aspect of it, Hugh, just looking at the Elliot situations, you have these genuine good people who join these businesses, but it's like once they get plugged into that Hydra snake, right? And they are no representatives of that Hydra. It's like the way how they structure everything in terms of the indoctrination process, they always eliminate that person who creates that bond first, eventually. Because once you get them to a pace, you get them to meet that next level of person, or that person who they should listen to, because they use edification so well to keep moving that person's mind and attachment to the next level until it gets to that highest level, which is the mock committee at BWW, who is just exalted as gods. Whatever they say, or whatever comes from them directly via proxy of an emerald or a diamond is just automatically just taken as absolute gospel, absolute truth, absolute laws. And
because they don't want you to critical think, right? They don't want you to actually think at all. They just want you to follow orders, do what you're told. It's like a herd thinking in reality. It's like when you're collectively in the environment, like when we are sitting down in the conference seats in those like 50,000 people, we are not 50,000 individuals. We're just 50,000 people that think as like one. Whoever is speaking is like basically thinking for all of us. You're just there to execute what they tell you to do.
Right.
Yep.
Wow.
It's very dangerous. It's very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
And something that I believe requires a lot of awareness. And you were talking about just the whole aim or MO of them is to just sell the tools. I want to kind of bring a parallel into this and talk about the furus. A lot of the furus who are online now, where they claim to have a lot of success in being salespersons for X. However, where they make most of their money is by selling you a course or teaching you something online. Now, not all of them are like this. However, there are quite a few who replicate that exact same business model in the online space.
Very true.
You
Very minimal people that sell courses are actually making money from the business, which is, a lot of people, which is one of the reasons why I was very hesitant on investing into my real estate course, Hugh. I did a lot of research on Jamil before I invested in it because that was one
Right.
of my biggest concerns was like, is this guy actually a millionaire or successful in the industry, or is he making money off of this $10,000 course?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's super important because now a lot of MLMs, a lot of network marketing companies are starting to have meetings again in person. I don't know about
Mm-hmm.
BWW. I think they're doing like open meetings or BBSs, whoever is in here spying on us, you guys can let us know. But I know like a lot of Herbalife, especially Herbalife, because I know my sister is in Herbalife, which by the way, she doesn't talk to me. Haven't talked to her in 4 months. She's
Wow.
pretty plugged in. Yeah. So they're starting to pay for these conferences now. And then there's another conference, and then there's another conference. And, you know, one of the things that they would promote during the pandemic was like, oh, yeah, no, Michelle, she's crazy. You know, everything is free because of the pandemic, because it's on Zoom. But now they're really milking, you know, everybody that has the job and everybody that can travel and everybody that can do this. They're charging a shit ton of money and making people fly for these conferences to educate them. But
Yeah.
where is the money really going to, you know?
Yeah.
So it's important for you to say to talk about this so people can really open up their minds and see, like, are you in network marketing, are you truly making money from the products, or are you making money from the system? And now a lot of people are
No,
starting
I
to
think,
realize that.
yeah, I mean, Michelle, you pretty much summarized it already. Is that it's the
Yeah.
same thing, the exactly
Yeah.
same thing. Is that they point you, they want, it's like a magician, right? It's like
Yeah.
doing a magic trick. They want you to look at this hand. They want your attention to be here on this hand. But
Mm-hmm.
where do you think the trick happens? The trick happens where you're not looking. It's this hand right here.
Right.
It's the same thing
Right.
with
Right.
magicians, right? They draw your attention to where the business or the, whatever the self-help supposed to help you build. And even
Mm-hmm.
Robert Kiyosaki did the same thing. Like I used to like Robert Kiyosaki books and whatnot, but he did a similar stuff. Like he would
Yep.
host like Robert
Mm.
Kiyosaki event. Like people know about Robert Kiyosaki, and a lot of people know about Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a very big IP. He's very
Mm-hmm.
popular. Brand name now. Rich Dad Poor Dad is a huge brand, right?
Right. Right.
He did the same thing in Madison. Like when I was maybe like a year or two in, like Robert Kiyosaki, he would have his sales guy to host a group, by the name of Rich Dad Poor Dad events. When you get there, they give you like a free like 40-minute talk, and the whole point is tell you to go to another boot camp that costs like $5,000 for 2 days,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're
Wow.
supposed to train you on real estate investment or train you on like other ways of like building business. But like you said, you just summarized already. A lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
selling you the ticket is the business.
It
It's
is a
like
business
it's
for
like a
sure.
story. It's like a story. I forgot where I heard the story. It's like about like some guru came to this town and like, hey, I'm gonna teach everybody here how to make $1 million in 2 days. Be like, oh my god, how to make $1 million in 2 days? Let's go to hear this guy, right? And then 10,000 people show up. The ticket is like $100 each, right? So 10,000 people, $100 for 2 days. People are like, okay, so how do you make $1 million in 2 days? Well, I just did. I saw
Just did it.
10,000 people. Yeah, 10,000 people ticket for $100 each. I just made $1 million in 2 days, right? Like teaching you is the business. Me teaching how to make money is how I make money. I
Yeah.
make money is how I teach you to make money, right?
Yeah.
So the actual
Lord.
whatever they're teaching is just like to get your attention. Like, oh, here's the business. Here's network marketing.
Yeah.
Here's like real estate, whatever, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
real trick is like getting you to buy that ticket, and that's where they
Right.
make most of the money. So yeah, like probably like 95% maybe of all those like self-help educational courses are probably all BS where you can find for free. Most
You
stuff
know
like
what?
this is
You know what I realized? I realized that the people who actually are able to create something for themselves go out and seek the education
Yeah.
without having to pay for it because it is there.
Right.
It's just the work
yeah,
behind it. And what
Yes.
people are paying for more often than not is the entertainment value. The people who trick them are just the people who say, hey, just like I said, you a magician. A Lamborghini Urus here that they have on lease, a house that they probably rented from Airbnb for a little bit of money that they can show that that's their mansion, and people buy that image. People
Yeah.
buy the entertainment and the look at me. you know, and then they're like, okay, take my money. You can teach me because you can show me these things on Instagram. You can show me these things on YouTube. You know, and it was just like that in our business.
Yeah.
Like they had the introduction video for everybody who
Oh
went on
God.
stage. And these guys are living the number one lifestyle in America, in the world, guys. The
Such a joke right now. Think
number
about
one
this.
lifestyle. The number one lifestyle. They get trips paid to them for free, guys, by the corporation. Listen up.
Oh my gosh. I heard that they had to take down the lifestyle videos now for these conferences because most of them were fake. Most of them
Hallelujah.
were fake and they're not real. I remember when my upline went diamond and his shitty diamond video looked like some person that made 50K in corporate, and I'm just like, I don't know, it just looks weird. It looks so weird because I was comparing it to all the diamond lifestyles that you and I were so used to, but if you think about it, these diamonds were in for 30, 40 years. And you know, I don't know, their investments, their everything eventually added up to make this lifestyle look amazing. But then my upline had just one diamond and had to make this video. It looked like a piece of shit. I was like, damn, this does not look
Look, I
good.
mean, look,
Oh my God.
I just like this one. One of the best analogy I can draw is that if you look at this as a show business, everything makes sense. This is
Mm-hmm.
not a business to
Mm-hmm.
present what's real or what's factual or what's like what they really believe. It's a show. Everything they put on
Right.
stage, everything they show it to you is a show so that you
For
can
sure.
have a good show. You enjoy the show.
Yeah.
But the problem is
Yeah.
that if you go to a movie theater, if you go watch like a comedy show, you know it's a show. You have some good laughs, you collapse. Even going to Tony Robbins, you know it's a good show, right? And you have some good time and you go home, life continues, you know it's a good show, you have a good laugh, and it's okay. But the problem with this network marketing, MLM, and like Worldwide show is that they want you to believe that that's real, but it's not. It's not real. It is just a show.
Right.
So people actually
Yeah.
going home believing that, you know what, everything they show me is real, all the value they talk on stage is what they believe in, and they want to help everybody go diamond, emerald. That's not true. As soon as you hit platinum, go emerald, it's not gonna be that. It's not gonna be like that.
Right. Right.
They don't have your best interest in mind. What they have is their best interest in mind.
Right.
Hugh, I'm curious, what has been some of the backlash from Brit Worldwide
Yes.
since you have, you know, basically started exposing a lot of the things that are happening in this corporation?
Yeah, that was gonna
Well,
be my next question. As like let's move into like, okay, now you leaving and you speaking out
right.
as someone who was an emerald in the business, which everyone here who is an Amway knows that is a prestigious pin and a pin that we all fought.
You. A lot of
Yeah, a
people
lot of
from
people know
the
you,
area
of
know you.
course.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, so right after I left, I mean, first of all, I kind of already expected what they would do because I already seen all the tools they use in the tool belt, right? I already
Yes.
know exactly what's going to happen. You know, they will try to discredit me right away. Oh yeah, Hugh probably has like, personal issues. He's probably just like, his life's collapsing. Oh,
Oh
this is a funny
man.
one. That's what they tell Paul. It's really funny. He was not genuine enough, so he couldn't handle it.
Yeah, they
That's
said
a
they
funny one.
told him you
Yeah,
couldn't handle the process because you're not authentic enough.
yeah. That's actually one of the things they come out with is like, oh, Hugh couldn't be authentic enough, so couldn't do this.
Which,
So they will.
if you guys ever started the process, you have to be the shadiest liar in the world to do the process.
Every time I
I'm
did it,
just
I felt
saying.
like I wanted to throw up.
I'm just saying. A lot of fake shit. So go ahead.
Yeah. So Carl, I'm sorry that I made you stay with my audio. I wish you could. Sorry about
Damn
that.
it, Hugh. Your audios were
I
so
was a very
good.
useful tool. No, I know I was a very useful tool for Blue White because they parade
Yeah,
me
for
around
sure.
all over places.
Oh yeah. Oh
As soon
yeah.
as they figured out, Hugh went Emerald, so let's parade him around Australia and go motivate some young crew Australia.
Oh
Yeah, I was a
shoot. Did
useful
they
tool.
pay you for that?
They pay for the trip and maybe like $1,000, something like that. Not that much. Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God. What a
yeah,
ripoff.
Yeah.
To get
If
to
you break it down
Australia,
by
isn't it like
if
24 hours?
you could break it down by hours, I probably making minimum wage. If you break it down by
Oh
hours,
my
you know
God.
how many hours I work in Australia. Yeah.
They
I rode a flight a
literally
lot.
fucking used you like a condom. Let me put this condom up in my Australia team.
Yo,
Let him
why,
bust a nut, and I'm gonna take that
Yeah.
condom and throw it out.
Because they know
I'm
Australia
laughing
has like
so
a bunch of
hard?
young kids, international students, new immigrants. Like, I was like the
Yeah.
perfect face for me to be like, parade around Australia, accommodate those guys, right? The same thing
Yo,
they do in Vietnam as well too. So
Craig used to be like, oh yeah, he was making like $4,000 just to go up and speak for a few hours, da 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 da. Plus he's getting all his expenses paid. He's making all this money just to speak. So that's why you guys need to be Emerald as well. Like I was like, what?
yeah. So
Paul, no, it's not. There ain't no kids here. Hopefully, I don't got your kids here.
oh yeah.
Wow. Continue,
what a trip
Hugh.
that was. Yeah, so like I already know all the tools in the tool belt. So I know they're gonna smear me, they're gonna create some like whatever random reason. They will say anything but the real reason. They will say anything but the real reason I bring
Right.
to Craig and bring to my uplines. I called Craig and said,
Mm.
look, I said, I'm not okay with this stuff that's going down. I have a
Wow.
real issue with this stuff, you know? And I mean, there's also other stuff that in my life that made me question about everything that I was doing at that point.
Right,
I just
right,
reached
right.
to a point in my life, like, I need to rethink about all my decisions.
Mm.
And I also went through a breakup at that point as well too. So I broke up with my girlfriend at the time. And this is like a perfect time for me to like rethink about all my life decisions, right? So I left, took the time to travel, experience, rethink, regroup, came back, the decision was very clear. Like once you actually take the time to like, I pulled away from the environment because I basically planned this event that like I need to be away from all these people,
Yes,
all this
yes.
influence. I need to be away from all these habits, that like was like, it's like a habit. It's like you're doing this every single week. You're in the hotel, you're in somebody's living room, like this is a habit. I want to break away from all of that so I can actually think and actually like meditate, right? And once I have a few months to meditate and to think, coming back, the decision was easy. It was so easy to leave because like I see everything clearly now, like without the day-to-day influence of these people, right? And I remember like when I first landed in Netherlands after this, after I flew to Europe, after maybe like a week, I was in Spain for like a week, and then I went to Netherlands to see my aunt, my cousins, and my grandparents. So my grandparents go to Netherlands every summer to visit my aunt's family and their 3 kids. And I remember like that night I got there, it was like evening already. I got picked up on a train station maybe by like 7 or 8 o'clock, and I got home to my aunt's place. The first person that I saw, that opened the door for me was my grandpa. My grandpa's like 80 some years old at that point already, and that I didn't know at that point when he opened the door. I didn't know, but the next day I found out that he was losing his memory. He was losing. He was having early symptoms of Alzheimer's already, like a few months before I got there. That night when I got there, he still remembers who I am. And he called me right away. He said, "Oh, Hugh." And he called me right away, and we had drinks that night. I was really happy to see him and my grandma and all my 3 cousins. And then that's also I realized I haven't seen my baby cousins in Netherlands for 8+ years. So I haven't seen them for like 8 years. That was the first time I've seen them after 8 years. The last time I saw them was when they were born. They were less than 1 year old. They were like infants. That was the last time I saw them, was they were infants. And 2018 was the second time I saw them. They were already 8 years old, 9 years old.
Wow.
So there was like an 8-year gap. I didn't even make the trip. Like it hit me real hard because that 2 image in my mind is like, oh, that was the last day that my grandfather remembered who I was. Like the next day he didn't remember anymore. The next day he was really basically lost that part of memory. So after that whole trip and giving myself more time with the family and traveling solo, it gave me a lot of time to rethink and reevaluate my decisions. And then coming back, it's like the question is like, it's not even a question anymore. Like there's no way I'm going back with this group of people because I saw them for who they are now, for what their actions, what they did, not like what they claim in the audio or what they say on the stage. I see them based on their actions, and I want no part of this group.
Right.
I don't care if they take all my Bro income and all my Amway income at that point. Like, I assume I have my Amway license, but if Amway call me like I'm gonna pull your license, like do it. I don't care. I'm gonna pull out my podcast no matter what you do, right?
Right.
So at that point, like I'm willing to give up all the income, all the business I built at that point, and I'm gonna leave that group. Because being part of that, there's no worse thing than being part of that. Like that was like the worst thing for me was being part of that group. To be associated with that people. It's shameful. I felt shame that I was even part of that group of people. That even brought people into this group. That I'm the people to stay in this group. You know? So I left the group, and obviously me and Paul, you know, connected. Paul was on the verge of leaving. He came and talked to me, and I helped him solidify his decision to leave. And then, you know, we put a podcast out, and he took it by storm. Because I knew that was the best way to go. Because I knew that if I talk to people one-on-one on the phone, it's not going to do anything, right?
Right.
And I don't want to waste my time to trying to convince people. Like, I'm not really interested. Because I already know that they will basically form their own narrative. They already try to create a narrative to discredit me. I already know that's what they're going to do. So I'm going to use podcast as a platform to tell my own story. You know, I don't need to call them to have a debate or have a dialogue. It's not necessary. I already know what they're going to do. So that's why I realized like podcast is probably the best way to go. And me and Paul sit down, you know, in Nevada in the desert, you know, we put a podcast out, and boom, the next day, you know who I call me? Not the next day. We put it out on Friday. Paul was so nervous. We put it out on Friday. I said, Paul, we're going to put the podcast out, and then we're going to disappear into the desert. So you're not going to look at social media. You're not replying to messages. We're going to get out of here. We're going to drive literally to the desert, and we're going to camp in the deserts. So we'll disappear for 2 days. He was so nervous. He was so still like, you know, have the energy because he just like, you know, he was like just deciding to leave, right?
Yeah.
So me and him did a trial run the night before. Paul was so emotional. We decided, you know what, we're not going to videotape this stuff. We'll go with podcast.
Oh, baby.
So like, you know what, let's not do video, let's do podcast. So we're relaxing, we sat outside the chair, you know, looking at Star, we chatted. There was a great podcast. I think we did really well. Paul did really well.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you guys
went to the desert, you know, for 2 days, no message. But I broke that. I came back and Paul slept and I checked my message. There's a check my messages. And then the coming Monday, I got a call from a Amway representative. So one of the person at Amway actually listened to the podcast, and he called me right away. He's like, you know what, we need to talk. Like, you know, because like I actually made my connection with Amway as well too, because I've been going to the Amway events for many years. So they want to talk. So I talked to some Amway people, and they decided to, you know, investigate and whatnot. And it turns out that I don't think they did what they're supposed to do. I think they're just there to just protect their own interest. But anyway, so a lot of people listen to it. You know, I filed a bunch of consumer report, a bunch of Department of Justice complaint against Blue Worldwide, you know, on the Wisconsin Department of Justice, in Atlanta, in North Carolina, the state where, you know, Blue Worldwide is located. I filed complaint FTC. I filed complaint in Better Business Bureau. So I basically did all the complaints I can find so I can bring more people awareness, you know, to look at this stuff. So even though I know that, you know, government bureaucracy probably is going to be very slow, but I'm going to do it anyways, right? So that all happened in a few months, and I think a lot of people listen to a podcast. And we had about like 2,000 people probably listen to a podcast on YouTube and on different podcast platforms. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that was what happened. And then we just kind of live a happy life ever after, you know?
Yeah, man. Andrew said, if it wasn't for your podcast, I wouldn't have left the business. The business caused so much stress that I wasn't able to get pregnant. We got pregnant 1 month after leaving. Thank you, Hugh.
Oh my, I didn't know that's wow. Oh my
God,
man.
Amazing.
I'm really glad to hear that.
Amazing.
Congratulations too. That's freaking exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got so many people message us like every single day.
I was one of the people that messaged you actually too. I mean,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I
How
was
we
on
got
my
connected.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on my way. I think I had pretty much already left by the time that I heard your podcast. And then when I heard your podcast, I couldn't believe that you left. And I couldn't, Paul, and I couldn't believe that Paul left because you guys were people that I looked up to, in business. Always, so it was just such a shock for me. And when we connected, we spoke for like 3 hours, just you and I was just amazed. And if you guys haven't heard Hugh's podcast, you definitely should. It's on your bio, correct, Hugh?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we do have some questions that came in. As we wrap this up, I know we're pulling into 2 hours and we don't want to take up too much of your time, but as we wrap this up, we do have a question from the Muse, and he asked, let's see if I can pull it up. Here we go. What type of mental programming did you keep from BWW, and what mental conditioning did you find you had to get rid of after quitting?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think some of the thinking I already have even before joining the Brew Worldwide, about like for example having the work ethic, reading habits, setting goals. I think I had some of these already even before joining the Brew Worldwide, and I kept some of those in my life because I already have those, and those are good traits no matter what I do.
Yeah.
The ones that I focus a little bit more on like what to wash myself out of my mind. Like, was some of the programming are very, very bad, right? Are the ones that's just inhumane or just basically
Right.
against our human nature. Like, for example, when, people should never be looked at just as like a stepping stone, a mean to an end, or like, just because you made money, now suddenly everything's justified, right?
Right.
Or like, the importance of having a mentor. Like, I'll look at that also very critically. Like, yeah, it's good to have a coach in a very specific technical area. It's good to have a coach. You want to learn play basketball? Yes. You want someone to teach you how to dribble properly, right? What's the proper position to shoot a ball, right? Or if you want to learn real estate, you want to have somebody to teach you how to pass real estate exam. In a very technical area, it's great to have a mentor or have a coach to teach you very specifically technical areas. But as far as mentor in life, I'm gonna run away very fast. If I smell any mentor life coach, I'm out away. I'm gonna run away. I smell that stink and I'll run away real quickly.
For real.
Yeah.
Gotta be real careful with that. Nobody,
what
nobody is perfect in every area of their life, and
what does that
it's
even
just
mean?
a form to control them.
I would say before you get a mentor in life, just go and see a therapist. That would probably help you a lot more because therapy is actually very good and beneficial. It's not anything bad, contrary to what people will have you believe. If you want some kind of emotional support. And then in terms of you just figuring out life, that's why we're all here. We have to figure that out for ourselves.
Yes.
No one can tell us what to do. We have to figure that out.
Right, right. And the more that we prove to ourselves, that we are capable of figuring shit out. It's all about where we were so busy impressing our upline throughout the years that we never realized how to impress our own selves. And that was a big thing for me is once I proved it to myself that I can overcome, that I can be better, that I can do great things, I didn't have to prove anything to anybody else. And I didn't have anybody else have to prove that shit to me either. So I think it's super important.
That's the thing, Michelle. I feel like one of their major strengths in recruiting these people is that they're very, for me personally, I was very gullible. I wanted that emotional, what's the right word for this? Validation.
Yes,
I wanted a lot more validation because I didn't feel like I was necessarily getting that.
Right.
And that I believe has a lot to do with self-love stuff, just overall stuff that everybody goes through, which is why I think it's better to look at a professional, just like you said, for that help specifically, as opposed to looking at someone to be like, oh, you're going to fix all of these things and completely transform my life.
Right, right.
It's like you don't want to give out that control of your life. That's probably the biggest thing that I took away. is that nobody is really be able to fill that shoe. Like you
Mm,
don't look for the easy way out. Like don't look at life as like, oh, somebody gonna give me the answer. No, like
mm,
it has to be you. You have to find an answer and just
Exactly.
enjoy the
correct.
journey. Yeah, it is scary, right? It is sometimes like it's unknown and scary. Nobody feels like, they have the answer, and that's all right. Like be comfortable with that unknown, that you are figuring things out, and trust
Mm-hmm.
yourself on that. Because anybody that's
Right.
trying to tell like they want to give you answer for your life and solve all your problems, they are most likely predators. They want something from you, very likely.
Right. For sure. For
Sure.
sure. So Paul has a question for you. If your former mentor and or big leaders on your team were listening, what would you say to them today?
Fuck off.
And with that, we'll end this live.
I'm dead. Oh my God. All
That
right.
was a perfect answer.
We have a hi babe. All right. We have another question from No One Nicket. I spent my 20s in the business. Let me just pull it up here. I spent my 20s in the business and missed out on so many opportunities. How do you deal with the regrets knowing you cannot get that time back? I cope
Oh yeah.
by traveling, but in the end, I still cannot get my 20s back. That's a really great question.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a great question. I can totally relate to that because my entire 20s is in the business. My entirety
Yeah.
of my 20s is in the business. Yeah,
Yeah.
like why I like to get it back? Yeah, I would love to because I would take my entire 20 to do anything else. I'll do anything else to be better than this, right? But
Amen.
the fact is we can. And I like who I am today. And
Right.
I got to who I am today is partially because it's, terrible experience I had. It made me
Mm,
definitely much more wiser. It made me have way
right.
more compassion and empathy for people who went through traumatic experiences and
Mm-hmm.
understand how to connect with people much better, right? So there is a good things. I can still see good things from it. Is that it helped? I'm just glad that I'm able
Mm,
to walk away from that and be able to reshape the life that I want now. Like one
right.
good thing is that now I'm so clear that I don't allow anybody to try to shape my life.
Amen.
I'm very, very strong on that now. Now, before the business, I would take people's opinions or advices much more seriously. But now I don't.
Mm, yeah.
Now I go
Yeah.
inwards. I'll go inwards for those answers. If I want answers to some of the bigger questions, like what I want my life to be, who I want to be, I go inwards for those answers. I meditate for those answers. I don't go look
Yeah.
for anyone else that seems wise or look flashy to give me those answers. And I can't get that, without this traumatic experience. So I can't get my 20s
Mm,
back. I'm not gonna. My brain doesn't function that way because I know I can get it
yeah.
back. So I'm just gonna let it go. The only thing I can do is let
Mm,
go of that. If you meditate, you realize the past is the same as future. They're both illusions. They both don't exist.
yeah. Very
They're
true.
both just images in your mind. They're both there to cloud you from to live in this moment.
Mm,
The past and
mm-hmm.
future is the same thing. They're all there to occupy your mind so you don't think about the present. So for me, I don't think about that anymore. I just think about this moment and the very near future I want to do. And I do have some plans for a longer future as well too, but I don't have to anything to be very concrete. I just want to make sure that my days and my weeks are doing things that I feel worthwhile. Like
Right.
I'm present. I live my day. I'm happy with the day.
Mm,
It's
amazing.
like being able to get the lesson and understand the lesson allows me to work today and allows me to move forward today, as
Amen.
opposed to regretting the actions or the occurrences of learning that lesson, if you will.
Correct. Correct. Amazing. All right. We got another question from I am Aditi. Paul, I'm curious how you handle the cognitive dissonance, fear, self-doubt in initial days post quitting.
What's the question again? The what?
She's curious to know how you handle the cognitive dissonance, the fear, the self-doubt in initial days post quitting.
Ah, yeah. I mean, you question yourself for sure when you
Yeah.
first leave. You're like, oh man, like, am I just really, like peeling myself away from all this community or the people? That's probably my biggest, hardest thing the first couple of days, a couple of weeks, was you feel like all these people that you've been friends with for a decade now, they're no longer part of your life, right? That's like the
Yeah.
most painful thing.
Yeah, for
That's a
sure.
very painful thing. Because I mean, that's really eventually that's what really matters, right? It's the relationship that you built.
Yeah.
But it took me a while to really fully let it sink in that those aren't real relationships.
Mm.
Those aren't real friendships I want, anyways. It was hard though. Even though
Yeah.
knowing the fact that those are not real friendships I want, even though now I knew it, even at the time I still knew it, it was still damn hard.
Mm.
It's like, you know, it's like looking at a person that's peeling away from the abusive relationship. From the outside, you look at them like how, like, isn't that so easy to leave a girlfriend or boyfriend that beats you? Shouldn't that it be
Mm.
super easy, right? But why do we
Right.
still find people having a hard time leaving abusive relationship or going back to it? From the
Yeah.
outside, it looks like unbelievable. Like, what? How do you go back to that, right? But
Yeah.
when you're going through it, because that's what you're familiar with, and that's what you know. And here's a part that's really scary. You knew you are okay with it.
Mm.
You
Mm-hmm.
knew you could handle it. You knew that even
Yep.
though that's so abusive, that's so bad, that's so violent, but you knew you could handle it.
You adapted to
Even
it.
that's
Mm.
enough to keep most of us there, just because we knew that we could handle it. Because the unknown is just so unknown, like we don't know, right? You leaving that person means you're going to unknown, and the unknown could be even more scarier than this worst scenario already. That, but you know you could live it, you could sustain it,
Mm.
you could handle it, right? So yeah, it
Right.
was hard, but I just knew that, you know what, I just need to go away, even though it's very hard. It was very difficult. It took me like months and months of just self-healing. I didn't even go to like a cult therapy, which you know, it was great that I was really, you know, I think a lot of people appreciate Noble and Kathy Gibbons for putting it together for a group
Yeah, for sure.
cult therapy session. I didn't have that. So what I did was I actually contacted a like online psychological counselor through BetterHelp.
Mm.
Basically, I was
Mm.
have a phone call with a counselor to help me work through my emotions, right? So it was tough. Even me knowing that all those are like really not the relation that I want, it was still because it's familiar. It was a habit. I talk to these people on
Mm.
daily basis, on weekly basis. I talk to them every
Yeah.
single week. Now I don't. It was difficult.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. That was very difficult for me as well. All right, let's go to I guess the last question here. To the panelists, would you ever consider starting your own MLM company? No for me. Hell no for me.
Hell effing no.
Hell no.
I would have a
Never.
ex MLM conference for the people who left
Ah.
MLM to have a conference, maybe.
Ah.
And you know, that was a big thing too that I feel like a lot of people struggle with when they just leave the business. They're like, oh, this business is this way. However, I still believe in the concept of MLM.
Yeah.
And MLM works. We've seen it
Mm,
work, you know.
mm,
So I'll just find another company to work with.
Yeah.
I think there's phases of leaving. I was in that
Yes.
phase as well where I was like, I still believe in the concept of MLM. Let me try and work with another MLM. And then I was like, you know what? All of these fucking MLMs are the
They're
same.
all the same,
Yeah,
yo.
it's a
They're
whole
all
entire
the same.
industry is the same. It does not make any sense. It does not make any financial
Right.
sense.
Right.
Um, so yeah.
It's all the same. It is all the same. All right. This will be the last question. And then we'll wrap up here in 5 minutes and talk about kind of like what the next steps are. Um, but oh no, Niket, how has traveling changed your perspective on life? I know, Hugh, you've been doing a lot of traveling since you left, and all of us have, which is awesome.
yeah.
So share with us, how has that changed for you?
Yeah, I know Michelle and Paul can probably do another podcast just on that too.
Oh
Watching you guys
yeah.
travel in Mexico and
Yeah,
everywhere.
we're actually, after this live, Paul and I are gonna go live sometime this week, sharing about how it was living in Mexico for 7 months this year. So
Yeah,
definitely stay tuned for that. That
yeah, I want to
that
hear
was
that
an
too.
incredible experience, and we would have never done that if we were still in Amway. Never. I
Yeah,
mean, there's no way. And we built a six-figure real estate business while doing it. So
here you go. There you go.
the stupid things that they tell you when don't travel because it'll take away from your focus in business is just the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
or you cannot make profit your first year in business or first 2 years in
Are
business,
you
right?
kidding?
How dumb
Yeah,
is
that
that?
is the
Bullshit.
biggest lie I've
Absolute
ever
bullshit.
heard. Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of,
Absolute
You
oh yeah.
you and also you know Catherine from Chicago, Bernard and Catherine.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think they're
Catherine
watching.
started, I think, they started like their, I think, dropshipping business and marketing business, and they also make 6 figure profit the first year.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
not even a year. It's like all the BS you're hearing is all programmed to keep you in, to keep you
I make,
trained.
bro, I make my entire time doing Amway, I made that income in 1 day in trading. My
Oh yeah,
entire Amway career, I made that
Amazing.
1 day in day trading on the stock
yeah,
market. I made
oh
that
yeah,
1 week in my surveying business.
So
yeah.
Easily,
crazy.
easily,
So crazy.
All right, I'm gonna answer the
easily.
traveling question real quick, then we can wrap this up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, then
Yeah.
we can talk about
So,
money and all that stuff. Yeah, later.
yeah. So my thing for traveling though is that, for me, that was like one of the best. For me, still today, that's one of the best investment I can make.
Yeah,
Was taking the
definitely.
time and money to travel and see the world and see different people. But see, I don't like seeing things or hearing things second-handed, especially in
Hmm.
the media landscape today. Everybody trying to feed you information.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
same thing with Blue or White, right? In the MLMs, they're trying to feed you, information. They're trying to control you. The media doing the same thing. I don't like anybody feeding me information. I want to know something. I want to see it firsthand. So traveling allowed me to have that. You know, if I want to know what life is like in China, I'm there to see it, right? So
Right.
that's like why, like, I don't really, get in a debate with people about like U.S. or China politics. Like, if you haven't been to China, like, what are you going to talk about? Everything you hear is second-handed or third-handed, right? So
Right.
for me, it's like I want to have, like, I have a genuine curiosity always to know more about this world and know more about the people, our fellow humans. And how can I not know if I never speak to them in person or never seen their life, the land where they
Mm.
grew up, where they live every single day? If I haven't seen it, how do I
Right.
know them? I don't know them, right? I mean, I can see a combi and talk to a combi here, but it's different when I've been to Jamaica and I've seen Jamaica. It's a different
Yeah.
type of conversation we can have, a different type of connection. And I like this
Mm-hmm.
type of real, genuine, deep connections I can form with people. And
Right.
part of that
Right.
is me being able to see their life in where they grew up, where they lived, what life was like there. For me, still
Mm.
today, that was still the best investment I can make for me because that makes me happy. That made me feel full. That made me feel fulfilled because I want to have the kind of connections. So it's like I
Mhm.
want to spend the money in doing that. For me, that's an investment. For me, traveling is not an expense. It's an investment in my life, in my happiness.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, as we wrap up, guys, thank you so much, Hugh, number one, for taking
Thank
2 hours of your night on this
you.
Sunday night to just share and open up and speak up about your experience. You know, someone who is an emerald in the business, someone that we all looked up to. It's just,
Mhm.
it's a shock. It was a shock to everyone when you left, and I'm pretty sure everyone now understands and sees why you left. And I'm excited that you're able to really create the space for people to open up. I mean, your podcast really helped me. It connected you to me, and it connected you to my future husband. So I thank you for that. You really helped so many people.
Woo!
Um, and
Hughes,
yeah,
Hughes making babies and relationships
I
happen.
know. Look at you. You're
Making
amazing.
things happen. Woohoo!
Woo! Oh my
Oh
gosh. So, Hugh, I'm sure a lot of people are going to reach out to you. What are some ways other than Instagram that people can reach out to you and talk to you?
Yeah, Instagram is probably best. Facebook, Instagram. Yeah. Yeah, just DM me. What's up? Just DM me, say hi, whatever, you know?
Hugh,
Amazing.
do you have any pages or any projects that you before we get
Buy my
good?
prints. Let's see my Instagram website. You can buy my photography prints if you would like. No pressure if you like them.
No
And
pressure.
yeah, my YouTube channels, I put my podcast there. I've been lazy doing podcasts. This is the only one that I did in 2021. So I've been lazy on that. It's okay though.
It's a lot of work, so we
It
get
is.
it. It's a lot of
Yeah.
work. Awesome. Where is there any parting tips or anything you'd like to say to everyone watching? There was about almost 100 people that watched here that you would like to share before we head out.
Yeah, I'm just really happy that the podcast have reached out to a lot of people. I was able to
Yeah.
help people get out of the business and really live their life in a happier way. I mean, that's like my way of reconcile with the amount of people that I brought in the business, because I felt responsible. I think a lot of us felt responsible bringing these young people into this organization
Yeah, for
and
sure.
seeing them getting abused, seeing them getting negatively impacted in various different ways. You know, that's probably the biggest reason me put on the podcast. I mean, one way was me finding some peace and finding some closure. But the other bigger piece was I felt a lot of responsibility. Like I brought these people in.
For sure.
You know, I cannot bring everybody out, but at least I need to try. At least I need to try something. Yeah. So I'm glad that I was able to have a lot of people see it. And that was really, that's the best part. Yeah.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. We're super excited that we had Hugh here on our show. Sorry for all the technical difficulties. Hugh, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Had a good time.
We love you too.
Thank you.
Guys, stay tuned for our next guest. We're super excited for all the amazing things that's coming. AuthentiK is going to continue to expand. For those of you guys that were in Amway, BWW, get ready. AuthentiK is launching something next year that you guys are going to love. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be so big. So stay tuned. If you're not subscribed to our email list, subscribe, michellegarabito.com. You're there. Our YouTube channel. We're going to figure out this whole YouTube live, but honestly, it looks like Instagram live was awesome. You guys can DM me and let me know your feedback, which one you prefer. We're so excited for all the great things that are to come. Everyone have a wonderful week. Have a blessed night. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for spending your night with us. Akambi, is there anything you want to say?
AuthentiK out.
AuthentiK out.
Peace.
Thank you, guys.
Make sure to save the video, Michelle. Make
Yes.
sure to save the video.
I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it right now.
All right.
Yes, it will be recorded and reposted, everybody. Right now.
Send it to me so I can post it on my page.
Well, remember, we have to, I posted on my page, and then there was a link that, there was like a app that we downloaded. Remember how we did that on the other one?
Oh yeah. Okay.
So find me that link, and then, I'll do it. I'll do it that way.
Okay. All right, cool.
All right, guys. Good night. Bye.